Clickety click click.
Hey folks, this is Keith and Brian from Less Magic, More Gathering. We are going to do our first deck tech video today. All of our decks that we play with, for the most part, are things that we've brewed up with our own brains. So we're going to share some of the creations that come out of here. Now, I know black-white tokens has been done before. I know other players have done it. It's been on the Pro Tour. This is my version of black-white tokens. So, with that being said, let's get into it. We're going to start out with our creatures here.
Oh, creatures!
Our first creature is 4 copies of the Martyr of Dusk. It's a 2-drop, 2/1. When it dies, you get a 1/1 vampire creature token with lifelink. We've got some cards later that we're going to go into that when that creature token comes into play, we'll get some additional benefits. So that's our first one.
Yay, creature!
Second creature is a 2-drop, 1 black, 1 white, 3 copies of the Legion Lieutenant. That's going to give all other vampires +1/+1, including all of the massive amounts, hopefully, of 1/1 tokens you put out. So if you have 1, you will have 2/2 tokens, 3/3 tokens, 4/4 tokens if you happen to get them all out there. So it's going to help pump those tokens up and give you more lifelink benefits.
I mentioned that card in Vraska. It's pretty good for pretty much everything.
We're going to run 2 copies of the Anointer Priest. Anytime a creature token enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life.
Life gain.
So again, we're gonna get a lot of benefit as we get into some of these other cards, having all these tokens. These next 3 cards are not creatures, but they are creature adjacent. We're gonna run 3 copies here of Legion's Landing. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. Hey, thanks. And then when you attack with 3 creatures, you transform it. When it transforms, it turns into Adanto, the First Fort. You can either tap it for a white, or you can pay 3 and tap it to create a vampire creature token.
It's a good card. Very beneficial.
Okay, next one, we're running 2 copies of Queen's Commission, which creates 2 1/1 white vampire creature tokens.
2
copies of that. Next, we are going to run all 4 copies, full playset of Call to the Feast. This one creates 3 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink. So even though we're not running a ton of creatures in this deck, we're running other spells that are going to give us more tokens and more creatures to work with. Our last actual creature is going to be kind of the center focus of my deck. This is the card I built around.
Yeah!
Elinda the Dusk Rose, a full playset of Elinda. She's a 1/1 with lifelink. Whenever another creature dies, she gets a 1/1 counter. Whenever she dies, you create X 1/1 vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is her power. So as we get into a couple of these other spells, and you're sacrificing creatures, she's going to get a counter, and then when she dies, you're hopefully going to get just an absolute buttload of tokens.
It's going to be ridiculous.
Our next spell here is where our sacrifice outlet comes in. Full playset of Hidden Stockpile. So it's got the revolt trigger at the beginning of your end step. If a permanent you controlled left the battlefield, you create a 1/1 servo. You can pay 1, sack a creature, and scry 1. So that scry is going to help you get to some things you need. If you've got a bunch of land in your hand and you need to get to some of these other spells, you can scry. Also, that sacrificing a creature is going to trigger the Hidden Stockpile to create a servo. So, once we get into this next spell,
The moneymaker.
4 copies of Anointed Procession, which I think is pretty standard in a black-white tokens deck. So every time you sack a servo, you're going to get 2 servos in return, unless you have more of these out there, and then you're going to get more servos. So that sacrificing 1 to get 2 almost makes it worth it on its own. So the Anointed Procession is going to double all your token output. Your Call to the Feast is going to create 6 vampire tokens now. The Queen's Commission is going to create 4 tokens. The Martyr of Dusk dies, it's going to create 2. So, and if you happen to have a Anointer Priest out there, you're going to gain 1 life for all those tokens coming in. So that's the glue that holds the deck together, really. And our last spells here, there's a lot of removal in Standard. So instead of running removal ourselves, we're going to run some counter removal, I guess you want to call it. 4 copies each of Supernatural Stamina and Sheltering Light. Supernatural Stamina is going to give a target creature +2/+0, and the ability that when it dies, it returns to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So that's going to be able to get things back if somebody tries to kill it, you're going to get it back, which is really nice with like an Alinda. If she's out there and somebody kills it, you're going to get those tokens, and then she's going to come back into play and just start creating more counters so that you can get more tokens later. And Sheltering Light just makes a creature indestructible, and you can scry 1. So, that being said, we'll get into the land base here. I think pretty much the basic staples for a black-white deck. We're going to run 4 copies each of Forsaken Sanctuary and Concealed Courtyard. Concealed Courtyard's really good at the beginning of games when you've got just a few lands. It'll come in untapped and you can use that right away. Forsaken Sanctuary is it's a tapped land, it's a slow land, but it's always going to be useful. We've got almost even distribution between our black and white. We got a little more white, but we've got cards that require both. So we're going to run all 8 of those. We're going to run 4 copies of Evolving Wilds. This is going to help us, if we can't kill something, that'll help us trigger our Revolt on some of these cards that are in the deck and in the sideboard, and it lets us fix our mana. Then we're going to run 6 plains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to run 4 swamps. So that is the land base, the creatures, the spells for the main board. And then we get into the sideboard. So what you'll see here on the screen is the whole sideboard list. We're going to run 3 copies of Fatal Push, because sometimes there's just things we need to remove. This is just the way it is. There's things that we're not going to be able to get rid of that we're going to have to try and remove. So Fatal Push, 3 copies. We're also going to run 2 more copies of Anointer Priest in the sideboard, because with that additional life gain, if we're in an aggro match and we're just out of reach, sometimes that additional life gain can help us extend long enough to get all of our tokens running and really keep us in the game. We're going to run 1 more copy of Legion Lieutenant, just in case we need to increase the probability that we can pump up those 1/1 tokens, because they are very susceptible to a few cards in Standard. So we're going to run those. We're going to run 2 copies of Settle the Wreckage, since Edwards just decided to throw it on the screen, even though that's not what we're doing right now. There it is. It's alright.
I figured they want to see something instead of you just talking with your pretty voice.
Well, it's on the screen right there. They can see it just fine. You can't see it right now, but you'll see it later.
I was just trying to help.
2 copies of Settle the Wreckage. If we get into a mirror match,
I'm not putting it up there,
or another aggro match, we may need to get rid of some of those creatures and not have the means to do it with our abundance of tokens. So We're going to run Settle the Wreckage. We're also going to run 2 copies of Slaughter the Strong, because dinosaurs are strong, and a lot of times that trample on some of those big dinosaurs is too much for us to handle. And Slaughter the Strong is a funny card. It gets rid of all those.
Yeah, it does.
We're going to run 3 copies of Renegade's Getaway. That is almost going to be 100% of the time something that you put in Game 2, Game 3. Because when they see that you have Anointed Procession and Hidden Stockpile running, they're going to put in their enchantment removal, and that Renegade's Getaway is going to be able to make those indestructible. So that is a good way to get out of a tight spot when they sideboard. We're also going to run 2 more swamps in the sideboard, just in case if we need to put in a all those Fatal Push and Renegade's Getaway, it's going to change the balance of our lands, so we might need that extra black mana. So put in 2 swamps. There's your sideboard. There's your main deck. It's a fun deck to play. I've played it a couple times in our previous videos. You can go back and watch. And it's a fun deck to play. So leave us comments. Let us know what you would change, what you would add, what you would take out, all that fun stuff, what you think of the deck. And we'll see what we can do.
Or if you just think it's freaking awesome.
Or if you just think it's freaking awesome. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to set up our next deck tech video.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go on my MTG unofficial app here. Go to random card. And we're going to filter this for rares and mythics and only standard cards. Ramanap Hydra is what we came up with. So our random card, we're going to do a couple more videos here. We're going to brainstorm. We're going to have a brainstorming video. This random card is what we're going to do our next deck tech on. We're going to build a deck around this Ramunap Hydra, and we're going to
kill it. Straight up, kill it.
Do another deck tech video, and then we'll also do some games with this deck, playing against the other guys that we play with at lunch, and see how it does. So expect that video probably in about a week. We'll have another couple videos between now and then of the brainstorming process and kind of the other cards that we're thinking about putting with it. If you have any suggestions, feel free to drop a comment or send us a message. You can send us an email at lessmagicmoregathering@gmail.com, or you can just leave a comment on the video. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, and that'll get you entered into our giveaway. If you don't know about the giveaway, there'll be a link here that will get you to those giveaway videos so that you can see what we're giving away and how to enter. We appreciate everybody's support. We've had some good comments and things that we appreciate on our last videos, so share with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next time.
That we will.
Deuces.
Deuces. Oh, that's really close. Hold on, let's try that one more time. Deuces.
Deuces.